GM, just a quick one before we get going. So, as you know, the Blocmates podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Certainly shouldn't be considered as financial advice. We have absolutely no idea what we're talking about half the time. So, any investment decision you do make should be based on your own research and your own understanding of the risks involved. One more thing as well, there's around 50% of people who listen regularly who aren't subscribed yet. So, if you please could just do us a favor and hit the subscribe or the follow button or the like button. Helps content grow, helps us grow, helps it reach more people like yourselves, and it means the world to us as well. So that's the last I'll ask of you. So yeah, let's get to the episode.
Is that sufficient time for us to start the podcast? 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. We must be past the lag. We've been told by our surrogate producer and all-round video editing wizard, Henry, the little Bangkok chav, that we have to give it like 3 seconds. We gotta give it 3 to 5 seconds before we can start talking. Hence us sitting in like an awkward silence for the first few seconds. But nevertheless, it's Thursday. God, we're going to spoil you today.
Yeah, there's some funny ones today.
I'm not even joking. And I just wish, whatever. I'll get into that later. Morning. How are we, fellas?
Great.
Amazing. Prices and flows. We are back. We have Bitcoin up 0.75% to 26,427. Up slightly from the last episode. ETH is up 1.57% to 1,615. Total market cap is up 0.86% to 1.05 trillion. Binance inflows. So on the daily, we are down 223 million circa. Weekly 171 million circa as well, because CBA with decimal points. And Fear and Greed is down again at 39. Okay, so straight into the winners. First up, we have CANTO. Who wants to take this one?
This is a...
Yeah, I feel like a game show host this morning. I don't know why I threw that.
We need buzzers. We need buzzers like...
Who wants to take this one?
Sandwich.
Sorry,
yeah, you're in a
too
Blocmates
comfortable doing this now.
Blocmates merch sandwich. We need to get these sent out.
Oh shit! Yeah, why have I not got mine on? I need to send all of
you.
You
Put a board top on or something.
No, it's a fucking cheap Monday t-shirt from like Urban Outfitters ages ago. But yeah, sorry, I sounded like Michael Barrymore or something there. CANTO, Grant.
Yeah. So they recently announced that they're gonna shift away from being an EVM equivalent chain on Cosmos and then switch over to Polygon ZK EVM, which I don't really know how I feel about that. Because CANTO was professed itself to be this kind of like public goods chain where it didn't necessarily raise any money and all this kind of shit. And then if I'm reading between the lines, they've obviously took a grant from from Polygon ZK EVM to go and build over there. Just Polygon doing their business deal shenanigans as per usual. But there are some interesting products that are building using ZK EVM, so I've got to give them that. It's going to be interesting to see the whole Matic rebrand, because they're going to go through another. They were Matic, they were Polygon, and then they're going to go and do something else now. And I think it's a way of increasing their token supply. And I'm being a little bit more savvy about it. But yeah, CANTO's up. It was the most mantra trade ever, and Mantra's one of the guys in our Discord who just comes out with the most obscure trades of all time and always seems to nail it. I know if I get a message from Mantra, it's going to be like, why would you even like think to do that? But he's done it again. We should have a Mantra corner on the new site, because he's always got some hilarious players, but he's pulled it off again.
Mantra is the meme of Pepe on the rock with the tea or coffee like contemplating. When I think of Mantra, I always think of like that, just like constantly in a state of flow and meditation. But no, if there's one thing you can't accuse, Polygon of, it's they don't let up on the marketing in BD, do they? Regardless of what you think of the actual substance, there's just always some noise.
You got to give it to them, really.
Yeah,
the Red Bull of crypto.
I can see Mike's noggin swirling there. Anything to add, mate? Or
not today, no, not on that one.
Not in the mood.
Not really.
He's not in the mood for Sandy today.
He's not in the mood. Just wait till we get to the shit coins.
I hate Polygon. Like, I just hate the use. Like, God, it's annoying. It annoys me. Yeah.
Tell the people why you hate Polygon.
Because I've still got Beefy stuck on there.
Is it you and Gav are the only two people in the world still with Beefy?
No, that was the Beefy I couldn't get out, to be honest. I saw the rest ages ago, but
fuck.
yeah. No, that's the only reason, really.
They're doing a token migration as well. If anyone picked that up, they're going to Ethereum.
Yeah, because they were.
So you might get it. You might get it. I doubt it. My airdrop to you.
No, I use some suspicious bridge in it. Just I don't think it had any liquidity. I think it was the first time I'd ever bridged.
Suspicious bridge.
Synapse with an S, S-I-N.
Yeah.
Note to listeners: don't use a suspicious bridge. Whatever the fuck that means. Fold is up 15.2% as well. We're going to talk about this.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. This one. So Fold or Manifold, not to be mistaken with. There's another account that says Manifold Finance, which is really confusing. So these guys are effectively a way to get exposure to MEV-related block building and relays within the whole Ethereum landscape, which is obviously a huge aspect of the industry that's ever increasing, and as a lot of people are concerned, but there's a lot of stopgaps that are getting put in place to kind of resolve a lot of the MEV issues that are happening. And they had a really good run up at the beginning of the year when like the whole LSD basket was running for the right reasons. And then I think their founder was
a couple of comms issues.
Yeah, there was a couple of comms issues, to put it politely. But he seems to have chilled out a little bit now, and then they've teamed up with Cream Finance, and they're going to release this MEV ETH, which goes live tomorrow on Friday the 29th. And I'm going to bring this up. So if anyone's listening, I'd recommend they go. I will leave the link in the description if you listen on Spotify. But if you're watching on YouTube, basically there's a website called censorship.pics, and it's effectively showing the Ethereum validator relays and builders and what portion of them are censoring and to what effect. So over the last 30 days, there's been around 93.84% of validators that are non-censoring. So like any transactions that are coming through at the validator level, they're not being censored, but there's a remaining 6.16% that are censoring, which is a little bit concerning when Ethereum is supposed to be this home of complete permissionless transactions. And then the further you go back from the validators to the relays that kind of pass on the blocks that are being built from the builders, you've got a 38.18% that are censoring. And then again, at the builder level, there's 67.33% that building blocks that are only accepting OFAC compliant transactions, which is quite concerning really for such a large network. And you can just see it kind of slowly increasing over time. So what's interesting, if you go down the relays and validators over the last 30 days and have a look at, so ultrasound obviously being the largest, they're in a kind of good position on, this is based on how much they're censoring and how much they aren't. But if you look at the bottom at 0.16% of relays, you see Manifold here, and they're the most, so they're proposing blocks that like they're not trying to push towards censorship, and which I don't think anyone should be. And like they're kind of holding the fort here. So it's a kind of good thing for decentralization and censorship resistance. And then on the block builder level as well, they're 0.03. So it's extremely, extremely low again. So this is a way to kind of evolve the kind of MEV landscape and get exposure to ETH that is going to be processing transactions no matter what transactions get put into them. And some of those might be high-paying transactions, some of them might be low-paying transactions, but they're just completely neutral on whose blocks they're going to build and who they're going to pass on to the validators. So I think it's a really interesting one. We'll have to see how it performs off the back of it. But I also don't like the connotation with Cream Finance, because I think that they're a little bit shit. But yeah, it's an interesting one nonetheless.
Just an interesting conversation though, like you don't have that, I guess, like granular level all the time in terms of And there's obviously always the argument with the Ethereum and how decentralized it is. So again, it is the conversation of like, what do they need to do to make it more decentralized? Because it depends what people are after, though, doesn't it? We talked about this before, and it does depend on what people, in terms of, do they care that much just decentralization, or is it more just the other elements in terms of like your scalability factor and stuff like that that's more important, depending on who you're asking, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, keep an eye on it anyway, because it's a good way to gain exposure to that whole narrative or story arc.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can't accuse us of not giving any value on this podcast, man. You just can't. As much as I don't like having these guys in the green under winners, WorldCoin is also up 8%.
Must have been the boo that token 24049.
Yeah, there was one there, wasn't there, with 2 orbs?
Yeah.
It's not to state the obvious, the most Black Mirror shit I've ever seen in my life. But
that's why I've longed it to fuck. I'm balls long on Hyperliquid WorldCoin.
Fair enough. Is there anything else we want to talk about on this other than just like, watch out, be safe, don't get your eyeballs scanned?
There's a good point that we brought up on one of the earlier shows around the launch of this, that a lot of the early liquid tokens were given to market makers in a market making loan deal, and the kind of information that was passed down was that there is a strike price of around $2. So if you think about it from a market making perspective, they're heavily incentivized to maintain a price above $2, where it's currently sat at, does anyone have it?
160, wasn't it?
No, I think it's like it's 184 now. 84. So you've got to think, when that strike expires, effectively those tokens are going to expire not worthless, but out of the money, because they want their allocation of tokens to be above $2, and whatever it is above $2, then they obviously get the spread between that, because they can purchase all their underlying allocation for the price of $2. So, and I think a few of those strike prices happened in October, and I think there's some that happened further out in the year. So if I was a market maker, I'd be heavily incentivized to keep that price above $2 and then make the money that way. And obviously, they're going to be earning on the fees as well, which could be the difference between tokens that are under $2 and whatever they've made on the fees as well. But yeah, I don't know. And just watch Corp Fuel rally again and just allow them to.
Well, it's always just at the anger, like everyone. It's always the most hated rallies that do the best, isn't it?
Always.
The problem, too much thinking and not enough buying from myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Just think, what do you hate the most?
I love thinking.
What do you actually hate? Just what do you hate the most, and like what community annoys you the most, and what doesn't make sense as much? Like, what is the
link?
What's the one token that doesn't make sense, and then you just buy it?
Yeah, no financial advice.
Not financial advice.
And my favorite part of anything we ever do in this entire business, shitcoin talk. So there is a new kid on the block, I think. Well, new as far as I'm concerned. SPX 6900 is up 50%, with the ticker being, if you are listening on Spotify, we are currently looking at the site, which is, well, it's a sight to behold, if I'm being completely honest. If you accidentally click on the web page, it'll blast your ears with like this really obnoxious, like hentai Japanese techno, which is also really, really fun. But it is the S&P 500 ticker, and it has the handle SPX Cult on Twitter. These shitcoins, honestly, they're getting more and more inventive and funny, and I personally cannot wait for the next massive run, because I just feel like people are waiting in the wings to just make my day, basically.
I don't know, you might have some absolute cope if you miss it.
I'll just watch in admiration, Mike. Yeah, I love it for the culture and all that. Is there anything else you want to say on that, lads? Or
I do think though at the moment, like shitcoins are absolute, like it's just so saturated. Like the amount of launches that come up, and it's just there was stats on year how many how many launches versus how many rugs, and there's been like, I think I think it compared like chain on chain, and over the last couple of years, like it's 10x and then 10x again in terms of what the launches are, but then the proportion of rugs to them is like 80%, 90%. And then you wonder why there was like 654 million lost this year on like shitcoins and stuff.
Like let's be like, people know what they're getting themselves into. They
Oh,
know
yeah.
that, like they know that's a spin on the roulette wheel.
I mean,
And
I
if
don't
you
even.
don't, you deserve to lose all your money.
But it just means that everything's more fractionalized now because there is more, isn't there? So like it becomes infinitely harder now to spot a winner versus like say 2 years ago, because there's that many launches. So it's like, and so it is difficult now. Like it is like when we saw Pepe and Bob and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there was a few winners, wasn't there, in a very short space of time, but there wasn't loads and loads like there was when it was the bull run or the end of the bull run in 2020. When was it? 22.
I would love to know if there is any sort of formula. There must be someone intelligent enough out there to kind of crack it and tell us what equals.
There's about 10 devs. 10 devs that are launching them all.
But some of the
different
creativity
pseudonyms
that
and
we see.
different fucking phone numbers.
Yeah, and then everyone starts linking the dots between wallets, and then one moons.
Pathetic.
What? Biggest losers. We've not got much going on here, but I'm assuming most people have seen that video that was circulating yesterday, I think, of Gensler being pinned on Pokemon cards this time. Yeah. Who wants to take that one?
Just like he can't answer a straight question, can he? Like,
no.
He was asked a simple, is Bitcoin a security? And he just dances around the point, and it just makes me cringe. And I cringe like a prune me, like I hate stuff like that. And it's just like, answer the fucking question. And he finally did, but then he wouldn't say it was a commodity. So again, what is it? Just no one's like a figment of imagination, like a floozy, like a fugazi or
currency.
whatever. Like, well, it's just
digital money, Mike. It's digital
just money.
I'm the opposite, me. I actually like watching him squirm, like sitting in there in like a David Byrne fucking 10x oversized suit.
Does look like Mr. Burns. Looks like Mr. Burns.
Yeah. It's just kind of go like that.
I can't watch it.
Yeah. Anything else that we want to cover? Delays to ETFs.
Yeah, there's
there might be there's rumors that ETH futures ETF is trying to get pushed through, but you're seeing like positive funding for ETH and negative funding for Bitcoin, which is a little bit odd. There's a bit of a disparity between that, so it might be people playing on the rumor. But if anything gets confirmed, it'll be today, tomorrow. But
there was I read just briefly that if the government shuts down, US government shut down the certain ETFs, if they don't get if the SEC don't come back in time, they'll automatically pass. So
put them in at the last minute, like transfer deadline to it.
Yeah, basically that's how it works. Like if they don't say anything, but then I think there's a couple that got deferred as well.
Don't say anything. Like just hide it under another one. Like hide it under a Pokemon card ETF or something.
Just keep throwing ETFs at them till and so they can't get them all.
Fucking hell.
All right.
Is that it? Are we good? Yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy with that if you are. 19 and out. Enjoy your Thursday. Look after yourselves. If you can't be good, don't be bad. Let me quote that. All right. Bye.
See ya.
Subscribe to the newsletter. Bye.